In today's episode of the Pathmark Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Todd Weyandt, and he's hailing over from the team at Applied Software, asti.com, if you want to head over to their page and figure out what they're all about. Today, we want to really deep dive into what the folks are doing. If you head over to the page, you will see they basically support teams to grow the business by hand selecting and hand organizing which technologies would actually be the best in their circumstances, as they're the dedicated partner to help increase productivity and efficiency through the right technology. So I'm glad to have Todd on the show, who's heading up creative marketing at Applied Software. And today we want to figure out how he's thinking about growth for the company. So Todd, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Of course, yeah. So maybe give us, a little bit of an overview for people who haven't heard about Applied Software, who are not familiar, who, try to wrap their head around what you guys are doing. Maybe give us a quick 360 overview of what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So Applied Software, we've been in business for coming up on 40 years, and
Cool.
we are a software technology company that sells into the AEC, the architect, engineering, and construction industry, and manufacturing as well. We kind of specialize in really the construction workflow and the trend lines that are happening there. A lot of people don't necessarily think of construction as maybe a tech forward or innovation industry, but it's really not the case anymore. It's changed a lot, and technology has really infused itself into the workflow of a construction lifecycle. So we come and help equip firms, whether it's on the design side or all the way to building the building, and then long after the building's built and the commissioning and kind of the daily operations of that. So whether it's software in the design side along the way, or coming in as a consultant and helping optimize all your workflows and your technology stack that you're using, we can help and leverage that way.
Very cool. That gives a very clear understanding. When you're saying the AC industry, like what types of businesses, what sizes of businesses, which players in the AC industry are relevant? Maybe tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so a little bit all over the board, depending on the product suite that they're interested in. So we can truly accommodate small people that are only really getting maybe one or two seats of software, up to enterprise level deals, and really coming in with a whole comprehensive business plan analysis of here's your roadmap for the next 5-10 years in the future. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit all over the board, which is a fun extra maybe challenge or hurdle opportunity for a marketer, because we have a lot of different personas that we are speaking to and marketing to and having conversations with, and we have to create relevant content to each of those personas.
Yep, it sounds like every different combination of your products and services makes a new persona in a way.
Yes, it does.
That makes a lot of sense. Very good. So now, who within those organizations typically, I know there's different personas, maybe give us one or two examples. Who's typically, reaching out to Applied Software? Is that sort of like so more in the C-suite? Is it more on an operational level where people come in? What's a typical of the many persona that is, reaching out to Applied Software?
Yeah. So there's a position called like a BIM manager or BIM director, and that stands for building information modeling. So they're the ones that are kind of in charge of the technology process of it and the design process of construction. Those are one of our primary personas that we speak into, and they're the ones that are thinking more, how do we enable technology to better equip us and to get us more efficient. So and sometimes it's the IT person that we're talking to as well, and then they're kind of overseeing the tech stack, but usually it's kind of that BIM manager. They're the tech forward, kind of operational. Here's the streamlined workflow process.
Gotcha. And what would you say, how do they typically learn about Applied Software? Like, what's their journey? Like, in other words, are the client acquisition channels that you guys leverage in order to bring them on board?
Yeah. So as far as like lead gen for us, one of the biggest channels and focuses that we spend a lot of time on is around generating content that the people really care about. So not even necessarily around our specific product lines, but what are the topics that people are interested in the industry? What are the trend lines that we're seeing, and how do we just better equipped and support our clients and prospects with getting them information about what's happening and what are the trend lines happening. So we generate a lot of ebooks, probably at least a new ebook a month. A daily blog goes out there as well. And we have 3 podcasts that we produce. One is Bridging the Gap, that's exclusively focused in on construction and the MEP subcontractors, the skilled trades, if you will. Another one is AC Disruptors, that focuses on more on the kind of the architectural engineering side and how does disruption impact a firm in that space. And then the third one is Forging Manufacturing. So that's going into the manufacturing industry. How does tech and innovation impact the manufacturing differently than the rest of AEC? So really wanting to produce quality content that provides and solves the a question that our clients are seeking and asking. Whether they do business with us or not, we're trying to give them the information that they need.
Very, very cool. Love the name. Bridging the Gap makes a lot of sense. Very nice. Cool. Okay, that gives us a good understanding. How do you think about the website? I mean, you guys have a lot of services and products on the website. Like, what role do you think the website plays in their buyer's journey? How do you think about that?
Well, the website's huge. I mean, most people, what is it, like north of 80% now are doing all their research on your website before they ever even fill out a form, or definitely before they seek to try to talk to somebody on the phone. So I think you have to really be educational on your website, provide clarity, and then find those moments where you can try to convert them and get them to raise their hand, to take that additional step. It's really, I think of it as a long, drawn out conversation that you want to keep them interacting, keep them engaged, keep the website fresh so they have a reason to come back to it as well. One of the things that has stuck in my mind, I stole this from somebody, so it's not original, but is have 2 call to actions pretty much anywhere that you're sending out a marketing message to. And the first one is the "Will you marry me?" call to action. And that's, I'm ready to talk to sales. I want a demo. I want a trial. I'm ready to buy. But not everybody is ready and willing to take that step in that commitment. And so if you just ask that question, you just lost the majority of your audience and they're checked out. So it's really important. They say no. What is your fallback? And what's your kind of the easier, okay, will you just go on a date with me? And will you continue this conversation forward? And so having that mindset is really important. So we leverage our ebooks and our content and the blogs and podcasts as that secondary, less intimidating, hey, will you just keep the conversation going and keep talking to us? And so by doing that, we're able to nurture and kind of warm up leads along the way, but we're also able to keep that conversation going. We don't necessarily get that closed door in our face.
Very cool. It's actually quite interesting. We've had that conversation on the show, and it's actually quite interesting. Even the 2 call to actions affect each other in a way, right? If you know, okay, there's something for free, but I'm not ready to set it up yet. Now I might speak to somebody because I know already it's for free. Like, they can actually influence each other and play together very nicely, even though the one might be the one that, most people would take in the end anyhow. So
yeah, for sure.
Super, super interesting. Great. I like to ask marketers what they consider to be a strength and sort of room for improvement on the website, because typically the website is an ever evolving piece of work. Where do you see as a strength for Asti.com versus where do you see room for improvement moving forward?
Yeah. So a strength, I think, is having that fallback action that people can take, that they can, there's a lot of less intimidating call to actions to keep that conversation going, for sure. I think an area of opportunity is we cover so much ground in what we sell on product wise and our consulting services and stuff that it can tend to be just information overload. And the temptation there is to try to be all things to everybody and try to kind of the struggle is to have that clear, kind of concise easy, digestible piece of information that grips everybody. That's always kind of we have this tug of war going on internally of give too much information, streamline it back, get just enough to appease or appeal to everybody across. And we kind of pendulum swing a little bit back and forth there.
No, makes a lot of sense. I mean, you mentioned already a great thing with these two call to actions. Is there anything else that over the years that you've learned that makes sense, when it comes to, increasing conversions? Now you positioned, for example, the relation of the call to actions to each other. Anything else that you've picked up, tools, methods, approaches when it comes to driving conversions?
So we love LinkedIn around here and really using that to engage a new audience. So what we have found, at least, is a lot of the people that we got a very healthy organic engine going into the website, but to get new blood into our database, we leverage social and LinkedIn and try to be pretty engaging and out front on social. We're posting all the time and trying to mix up the types of posts and the content that we get. And we do a lot of lead gen ads around our content on LinkedIn to help build in that steady kind of drip of new logos and new people into our database. And so kind of that 1-2 combo and coordination is really impactful. We also do interesting, over the last couple of years, webinars have kind of a little bit ebbed and flowed, but overall, holistically, they've been a pretty steady source and to help position us as we're going to focus on your problem, not necessarily on the product. And that really carries through. And it's a great opportunity on a webinar to have, an hour to really sit down and unpack a particular problem. And then you're able to show through the course of that hour, hey, here's how this particular product is going to overcome this problem and help you in this pain point.
Is there something in particular that you sort of one key learning that you would take away from the LinkedIn engagement? You mentioned the lead driven ads. You mentioned the engagement. Anything that you say maybe came a little bit as a surprise or was a key learning after having been working on that for a while?
Yeah, well, everybody says that LinkedIn is to do advertising on it is pretty cost prohibitive in that it's a really high cost per lead rate. What we found is actually the direct opposite. It was pretty low for us when we focused on content as the lead gen mechanism. Mm-hmm. So trying to kind of bring them in more top of the funnel on LinkedIn. And then once they've converted on LinkedIn, then we're able to start kind of nurturing and warming them up more. Mm-hmm. When we focused the other way, when we tried to do LinkedIn ads that were more bottom of the funnel and that heavy, will you marry me kind of call to action, that's when the cost per lead really skyrockets and boost up. And so just kind of flipping the script a bit and say, okay, it's okay if they come in top of the funnel. We're starting that conversation and we take that conversational approach. That has really helped us in bringing down that cost per lead and making LinkedIn a really common sense channel for us.
And does that mean, and feel free to let me know if we're getting too much into depth, but because the marketers will be angry with me if I don't ask. So is there any particular assets that you found working really well? You mentioned, PDFs, guides, podcast. That's the first question. The second question, do you try to convert them on LinkedIn or then when they go to a landing page for those assets?
Yeah, so they convert directly from LinkedIn, and it's a lot of kind of ultimate guides to XYZ product type. Or here's overarching trend, like, leveraging the podcast. One of the things that we've done is we've seen trends pop up on bridging the gap. Organically, a lot of guests start talking about one particular topic over the course of several episodes. And we're attuned to, okay, this came up in the last 4 of the 6 episodes. Let's kind of dig into this a bit more. Let's create a piece of content around that. And so that got the kind of interaction and play of keeping our pulse on what's happening in the industry and then producing some sort of easily digestible guide. I'm not talking anything super in depth of like a 100-page ebook or something. I mean, these are maybe 20 pages with graphics thrown in there. But it's enough information that serves a need. It answers a question. It provides value in some way to the prospects there.
Very cool. Appreciate that little deep dive there. I want to switch gears a little bit and get to know you and your journey in growth marketing a little bit better. So there is a lot of content out there. Your team and yourself, even you're creating a lot of content, but even for marketers themselves, there's tons of podcasts. There is 1 million guides out there. There's case studies. Where do you personally like to educate yourself? Like, where do you get sort of high quality, content, and how do you filter from all the noise that's out there for you personally?
Yeah, that's a great question. I love podcasts. I'm addicted to podcasts for sure. HubSpot is one of my favorite tools and resources that I will never venture very far away from HubSpot. So I think their blog just in general is a great resource. I have been really impacted by a book called Story Brand. It's Donald Miller. That's where I ripped off the marry and date call to action is from him, and really kind of framing around how do you, all of your marketing tell a story where you are not the hero, you are the guide, and your customer is the hero. I think that's really important. And then there's a third book that I'm going to recommend it's called The Art of Innovation. And I'm blanking on who it's written by, but it is awesome. It's actually not necessarily a marketing book. It's more on like product development, but the whole concept is how do you brainstorm better? And I think that is incredibly applicable to marketing. I always say to my team, my favorite aspect of marketing is that we just get to try a bunch of stuff. If it works, fantastic. If it doesn't work, that's okay. We're going to figure out and learn from it, figure out what didn't work, why didn't it work, and then we're going to improve that so we don't make that mistake again. And our campaign next time is going to be even more impactful. So I never think of a campaign as failing. I just think of it as a learning opportunity that we can grow and make the next one better. And usually we're able to pick up some nugget from a traditional, failed campaign and make the next one better.
Very cool. Got some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for today. Are you ready for those?
Let's do it.
I mean, you were kind enough already to throw some books out there, but I'm going to ask you, what is the last book you read?
Marketing book?
Whatever.
I am in the Lord of the Rings series and reading them. So I'm currently in Two Towers, but I just finished Fellowship.
Okay, very good. What is one single thing your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Customer experience, making that better, easier to interact with us.
If there would be no boundaries in tech, what's the one thing you would fix for your role today?
Oh, that's a great question. Better automation across the board. So like right now we have different systems that they're integrated in, but there's some manual checks and some stuff fall through the cracks. So I would just love to hook different programs up and have them all talk to each other and flow information back and forth seamlessly.
What's the last thing that kept you awake at night about the company?
Oh, about the company. I just had a newborn baby. So that's what's keeping me awake right now. About the company. I think I am by nature a very, what's next? What's the next kind of hurdle? What's the next innovation that we can conquer? So my brain is always thinking, okay, we did this. That's great. What's the next hurdle that we can hit? What's the next goal? How do we increase it more? And that's usually what I stay up thinking about.
Very cool. For the last question, I would like to do a bit of time travel. Let's go back to the days of University of South Carolina, right? So you're heading out of formal education. Now, for your path in marketing and communications, what would be the one advice you would give yourself for your journey?
I think it's okay to feel the imposter syndrome. I'm a achiever and performer a lot of times, and I will feel sometimes like, okay, I'm in this position. I got it, but how can I back it up now? And I think that that's okay to kind of sit in that, and then to vocalize that, hey, I'm figuring this out as I go. I'm confident that this is the direction. This is where I think we need to go. I haven't done it before, but that's okay. And I'm going to be learning along the way. I think vocalizing that easier is so important. And I've learned that over the years that it's okay to say, hey, I'm not an expert on this. I'm learning about it. I want to try it. let's go test it out. And people 9 times out of 10 are like, yeah, okay, great. Go try it and see what you learn.
Very cool. I think that will give a lot of relief to people who are listening. And so I think very good and very, very practical advice. Todd, I really appreciate you took the time with us today to be a guest on Pathmark Presents. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about applied software, what's the one thing they should remember?
We're here to help the AEC industry. Just provide them information so they can go to ASTI.com for any of that, or they can check out. I'm the host of Bridging the Gap. So bridgingthegappod.com is a great resource as well, too, just to learn more about the AEC industry and what's going on there.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathmark Presents.